Alright, today I'm going to be upgrading my computer. This is part 2 of the at least 2-part series. So I've decided to this time upgrade my CPU and my graphics card. So before I had a Ryzen Athlon 200 GE CPU with Vega 3 graphics. So I decided to upgrade that and instead get a Ryzen 7 2700X and a MSI GTX 1050 Ti to replace that. So I'm actually showing this to my friends. So opening up the computer over here and taking it apart, you'll notice that I kind of do have a lot of fans in there for absolutely no reason. So here I am. I'm just taking out the old CPU. I'm actually going to be saving it for later because I've got another build coming up shortly, and I'll be using that CPU over there. This CPU is actually great. Has an 8 core 16 thread CPU. It's great for doing multi-thread processes like I don't know, rendering or animating. Not really designed too much for gaming, but it works pretty well. So I'm just installing it over here. It does come included a really cool RGB cooler, that fan cooler. So that's nice. Yeah, it's quite big. Actually, over here, I did notice that when installing the cooler, it does the clips seem almost like they would break, like they're going in properly, but it seems like too much tension. It's actually not. It's actually perfect amount of tension. So like, don't be too afraid of snapping off the plastic when you're installing it. That's about all the tips I've got over for the cooler. It's not much to it. Now I'm installing the graphics card. It's not that hard. You just plop it in, nice and easy. Make sure not to leave the cover on like I did. And when you plug it in, most graphics cards nowadays have a power cable that's required, or highly suggested at the very least. And here I am just putting some screws in to make sure that it doesn't wobble around when you're transporting it, or even while it's stationary. You really don't want that GPU flopping around inside the case. It'll probably have a high likely chance of breaking the port, the PCIe Express port. Alright, just plugging back in the fan. Notice that I'm actually looking around for a cable. It's really, don't tell me, but it's kind of right in front of me. Of course, I got distracted, so now looking at everything else and trying to find other stuff, and that, not even sure what I'm looking for at the moment. A second here, you'll see that I'm gonna go clean off my CPU for no reason, but alright, guess I am. And notice right after this, I actually noticed that I found the cable. This is the RGB cable for the cooler that I mentioned before. It was RGB, and of course now I look at the instructions, because every techie knows that you only look at the instructions to make sure you figure out where all the ports are. So yeah, that's what you do. Of course, never look at the instructions otherwise. So this cooler actually has it so that you can either plug it into a USB port, or you could plug it into a dedicated RGB port. So it has 2 cables, one for each. I chose the USB port since I don't exactly have a dedicated RGB port, which is unfortunate since I have to unplug 2 of my USB ports. So now 2 of those won't work, but oh well, that's what you get for buying the cheap motherboard. Alright, that's about it. And just putting the case back on, and hopefully that's it. The computer works. It's working fine. This is what I'm using right now to edit it.